Hello, my name is Myra Fernandez, and welcome to my FOTIP portfolio, or better yet known as the Fullerton Online Teacher Induction Program portfolio. On my main page, you can see that I have included a short biography of my 12 years of teaching experience. I have taught at 3 different schools, both co-ed and all girls, both private Catholic and co-ed. And at the bottom here, I have some pictures showing the wonderful experiences that I have lived through here um, in my teaching life, my teaching world. I've created great relationships not only with my colleagues, but as well as my students through different opportunities in and outside of my classroom. On the next button up on top, you can find a button for my resume. Pretty self-explanatory. It has my resume here, which has all my experience. My education is listed, and if somebody wants to download this as a PDF, they can download it through here or through this link as over here as well. The next button up on top are my assessments. We have the CTP, the Continuum of Teaching. We have the button that you can click, and it has the general continuum of practice levels of teacher development. It describes each standard and the different elements in great detail. And below, you can even find each standard here in even more detail within the elements being described specifically for each standard. I have here examples of my CSTP self-evaluations for semester 3 and 4. If I click on my semester 4, you can see what it looks like. I did self-evaluation every semester, and each semester is represented with a different color. Yellow first, green second, blue third, and pink fourth. I had to evaluate myself and where I stood at the end of each semester. Well, actually, the first semester was at the very beginning, and then thereafter, second, third, and fourth, at the end of every semester to see where I found myself for each standard. Sometimes I stayed, sometimes I grew, and you can see there that I have my self-assessment here and then evidence in which I felt that I could prove that I was at that level. I have all 6 standards here. And again, you can download each one individually here to the download button, or if you click on the link, the button above, you can download it as well automatically. Going back to my assessments, the next button is the pop cycle button. And right here you will see the pre-observation post-cycle form. This is the blank form itself. And then below you will see the example of my 3rd semester pop cycle. Here I decided to focus on teaching my direct object pronouns in relationship to household items because that is the topic in which my students were at. My mentor came and observed my full class from beginning to end, and I had to include a lesson plan, the interactive notebook inserts that I was using during that time, the exit tickets that I used to evaluate my students, whether they were understanding the topic, whether they were still confused, if there was any growth or not. I used exit tickets to collect some data. As I also included the video that I used in order for the students to have a different method of learning. So my topic for this project was being able to meet all of my students' learning needs. And in doing so, I had to pick 3 students to focus on. One was an English learner, one was a student with learning disability, and another student was of my choice, and I chose a low-performing student. So I met with my mentor before and after my lesson plan to discuss what I did well and what I could improve on. I did a lot of self-reflection, evaluation, as well as listening to my mentor of what he observed. Of course, like I said before, I used the exit tickets to evaluate whether my students improved and whether I met their learning needs. If I go back to my assessments, and I have another button here with the teacher inquiry. If I click on that, you can see here that I have different resources that was provided to me through my classes on a teacher inquiry cycle. And right below, I learned how to create teacher inquiry. And then I had an individualized learning plan project for semester 3 and 4. And if I click on either one, I can see my project there. So I'm going to click on this semester's project. And this individualized learning plan project was focused on being a teacher leader. So as you can see here, I have my form that I filled out as well as my mentor regarding my presentation to my department on teaching them how to use interactive notebooks in our Spanish department. We attend various professional developments, but sometimes it's very hard to apply it to our department. People don't usually give examples for the Spanish or foreign language departments. The usual examples are for math or history or English classes. And sometimes it's very difficult to imagine how to incorporate it into a foreign language class. So I made sure to use my lesson strictly on focusing on foreign language classrooms. And interactive notebooks is something that I started using a couple years ago, but I really started using them when I began this program, and I really saw tremendous growth with my students on them focusing in class and participating and really becoming involved in their own learning. Not only do interactive notebooks help them with their note taking and focusing and paying attention in class, but it was a great resource and tool for them to use inside and outside of the classroom when doing their homework and studying. It really helped them individualize their notebooks to their own learning needs. And it really helped, especially those students with learning needs. So I included some results from the evaluation forms that my colleagues filled out through Google Forms that I gave them. Those are some graphs of the results of my performance as a presenter and whether they thought interactive notebooks were applicable in their levels, because we all teach different levels of Spanish. At the very end here, I have some notes from my mentor. I have copies of the evaluations that my coworkers completed in regard to my presentation. Up here, I have the CSTP evidence. So I have all of the standards here. And each standard has its own link. If you click on one of the links here, you will see my self-evaluation for the standards, where I thought I was for each one, the date in which I self-evaluated myself, the evidence that I had to prove that I was at that level of the standard. I also had to include live links for other types of evidence. Every semester I had to focus on different types of standards. Right here I had to focus on technology-based standards. Over here in the red, I have to include evidence as a teacher leader. So you can see that I had that for each of my standards. All the elements were covered. Under more, I have technology competency. If I click on that, you can see here that I have technology tools and resources, technology playlist, menu, and choice board links. And right in the middle, I have my self-assessment of my standards for technology. Again, if this is too small to read, which it's too small for me to read, to be honest, I can easily download it through here or through the button itself. But as you can see here in the bold, I identified where I was for each of the standards for technology and where I thought my students stood in my class. I had identified my strengths and areas for improvement and give evidence for that as well. Let me just show you one of these buttons here. I'm going to go on the technology playlist menu or choice board. Here you can see a menu that I created for the PBL project in my Spanish 4 class. This is just giving them options on ways to present their project to the class. They have written products, visual digital products, presentations, or performances. This way the students can choose the best way to demonstrate their content knowledge and expertise of what they have learned. So I thought this was a great idea. I learned this through this program and I have already begun to use it in my classes. It has been a great resource. Okay, if I go over to my leadership competency button, you can see here that I have global citizenship education button, teacher leader project, teacher leadership review as extra links that you can click onto. I have right here on the very front page of this site, I have all of my experiences here that I have had in my 12 years of teaching as a teacher leader. Again, you can download it down here or through the button above. And then over here to the right, I have my teacher leadership goals. I had to give my goal, my rationale, the standards that fall into that goal, and my objective for that goal. On the very last one here, I also included my teacher inquiry. And again, you can download it through here or through here as a PDF. The last thing I want to show you is my teacher leader project. I've kind of touched base on it already, but I just wanted to show you real quick what it looked like. I presented the interactive notebooks and the use of them in my classroom. I think they're a great resource, especially for students with special needs. Students really focus on in the class because some of the interactive notebooks work as guided notes. Some of them are used to do activities, to teach grammar, vocabulary, culture, geography. There's so many uses for interactive notebooks. They could be applied to different levels. This is for Spanish 1. This is for culture for Dia de los Muertos. It could be simple as labeling the vocabulary for Spanish 1, or it could be a little bit more intense and inside describe how different countries celebrate it, and then even more so for showing critical thinking, have the students write things about it. Further below, I created notes and handouts. So this is just handouts or the prints of my PowerPoint, and right here my coworkers were able to follow along and write notes on the side. And of course those are downloadable, and the resources were actually attached to my presentation. So that is my website. I really hope you enjoyed it, and thank you very much.